This is the Chappell Real Estate Show, episode number 22. I said we were kind of settling with that first house, right? It was 2-story. It didn't really check all the boxes. This other house was a single story. It was a little bit bigger. It had a lot more of the upgrades throughout. And I mean, I didn't feel like we were overpaying for this house, which is like shocking, right? Like in this market, I fully was expecting like, I'm going to feel like I'm overpaying for this house. And I didn't feel that way at all.
Welcome to the Chappell Real Estate Show, your source for the latest real estate information so you can buy, sell, and invest with the best in Texas. Whether you're a first-time buyer, a current homeowner, or a seasoned investor, you've come to the right place. We're here to simplify all things real estate so you can achieve your goals of property ownership with your hosts, Daniel and Roger Chappell.
What's up, everybody, and thank you guys for tuning into the Chappell Real Estate Show, your source for the latest real estate information so that you can learn how to buy, sell, and invest with the best. I'm your host, Daniel Chappell, and I'm here with my dad, Roger, today. How are you doing?
Good morning. How are y'all?
Oh, it's another day. The saga continued last week, and you guys heard about how my fiancé, Liliana, and I had put in an offer on a house that we really liked, and we didn't get it. It was kind of sad. It was a little bit of a sad morning on Tuesday whenever we found out that we didn't get that house. And it was, I kind of sat around for a few minutes and was moping, kind of all in my feelings like, oh, this is a bummer. I'm really sad we didn't get that house. And then I was like, no, you know what? I'm a realtor. I have my clients get back on the horse every day. So I was like, all right, I'm going to find another house. So I go back into that neighborhood. And mind you, it's Tuesday. We're back into the week. And I go and look on the MLS, and there's a couple other houses in the neighborhood. So, we called some agents and found out that there were 2 available properties in our price range. Went and took a look at them, and I mean, we'll give you the rest of the story on the rest of the episode. But basically, everything worked out. We ended up getting that house under contract. It was a better house, and it just kind of it led us to want to create an episode with the topic of basically don't give up. It's very tough out there for buyers right now. We just witnessed it firsthand, but we always tell our clients, if you don't get one house every single time, 100% of the time, it's because there's a better opportunity down the line. And that remained tried and true for us. So we wanted to kind of make an encouraging episode for all of our buyers out there in today's crazy market. So stay tuned, and we'll get into that topic for the episode today. But first, Dad, what do we have as the Chappell chunk for today?
So the Chappell chunk for today is literally stay true to who you are and stay in the fight. Because I know for buyers, that's basically what it feels like, is that you're fighting, scratching, doing everything you can to get yourself a deal. So change your mindset about what a definition of a deal is and stay in the fight, because your house is right around the corner. If you don't get it, don't worry about it. Trust me, it's not your house. Wait till the next one or the next one or the 5th one. Just keep in the fight. You're going to get your dream home. I promise you it's going to happen.
That's great. That's great news. So I kind of want to switch up the episode a little bit today because, we're talking a lot about our situation. So I kind of want my dad to lead the questioning this time so that we can kind of dive a little bit deeper into, for those of you who don't know, he is the one who is representing us in this transaction. So he is our realtor. Even Realtors Use Realtors. That's right.
Smart ones do.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dad, why don't you, we'll kick it off that way.
So I want to make a couple of comments real quick based on what you just said. So Daniel mentions that realtors use realtors, and I made the comment the smart ones do. So every buyer that's involved in a purchasing a home has some sort of emotional attachment to that home. Whether they want to or not, it's just the way it is. And once our emotions get involved in it, our decision-making process goes off the rails. It never stays intended the way you want it to. At least for me, that's just the way it is. I mean, if I'm going to buy another property, I'm going to use a realtor to represent me to purchase that other property, especially if it's going to be my primary home. If it's going to be an investment opportunity, that's a different animal. I have a different mindset with that. But when it comes to a personal home, I'm probably going to use another realtor to help me through that process because I am emotionally attached to that home. when I go to sell this house, then I want to make sure that I have good representation to help me sell that house. I want my emotions out of it. And the only way I can do that is to hire a professional to represent me. So that's what Daniel did by using me. Yes, me being his dad kind of gives it a little bit different feel, possibly. But I mean, the bottom line is I'm here to represent Daniel as a client, as a buyer, and not just as my son. So I have to take those emotions and set them off to the side, which if you knew my background, you know how easy that is. So I'm able to actually do that and work for him in a way that I think is quite beneficial. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I knew it from the beginning, just because, well, first of all, I'm a pretty emotional person. I'm a Gemini, and my emotions get tied up into everything. My fiance is also very emotional. So before we even really got into this process, I knew that we were going to need somebody who was going to be able to separate themselves from the situation, because, we walk through the houses and it's hard not to fall in love with, if you have an idea of what you're looking for, and if you walk into a house that checks the majority of those boxes, it's hard not to get some emotions tied to it. So I knew that if, we fell in love with the house and then we get through the inspection period and there needs to be some kind of a negotiation to get something repaired, I wasn't going to be in a position to be able to separate myself and negotiate without getting my emotions tied into it. So, and I feel like that's just kind of a self-awareness thing. You have to know what you can and can't do. Some people may be comfortable representing themselves, and maybe they look at every transaction as a business transaction. But, even me, I have a very investor mindset. So when, the house that we purchased, where we purchased it, it was very strategic, but at the same time, it's still the house that we're going to live in for the next 5 to 7 years. So I still get emotionally tied to it. So,
yeah, very good point. So, getting just a few questions for you so we can try to get this conversation going more towards benefit towards our listeners. So, when we did this last episode, we literally had your offer on the table. And what you don't know is some of the conversation that had happened between me and the other agent. And I felt like, we literally initially wanted to set a deadline. And the agent kept coming back to me saying, don't set the deadline, stay in the game, stay in the game, stay in the game. How did that make that part of it? How did that make you feel? Because we initially wanted to go in and set a deadline, and there's a reason behind that. So we can even discuss the strategy behind that if you'd like.
Yeah. So I'll be honest, I was a little bit upset. So, mind you, we've been, and I'm sure every buyer feels this way, but, we've been only in the market now for about a month and a half, right? Yeah. So, a few weekends we've put in probably 4 or 5 offers on other properties that we didn't get, but they weren't homes that we were like in love with, and they also weren't at the top of our price point. So I feel like I wasn't as emotionally tied to those other ones because those didn't, I don't know, it didn't feel like it was that home, the last 2 that we submitted the offers on did. So the idea is that we know we're agents. We know what the market is like. We know we have to come in aggressive and strong with high offers and, appraisal waivers and all this kind of stuff. So, our idea behind putting a deadline was, all right, we've already put offers in the last few weekends, and 100% of the time it felt like the agents were just using our strong offer that came in on day 1 to leverage it for a higher offer, which they absolutely should be doing. As listing agents, we do the same exact thing. So I can't be mad about that. But I don't know. I wanted to put the offer deadline on it just because I didn't want our offer to be used as leverage. And I had a feeling that if we did, kind of leave it in the game, that's exactly what was going to happen. So we initially had put a deadline on it. The house went on the market, I think, on Wednesday. I went and saw it. The first showing available on Thursday morning, and I had an offer written up before the second showing happened. So we went in strong, above list price, appraisal waivers, everything in favor of the seller, and asked that they accept the offer by midnight, I think is what we said, right? By midnight. Yeah.
And there was even a reason why we chose midnight instead of, say, 5 p.m. or something like that. You want to talk about that?
So, we wanted the offer deadline at midnight because we wanted to give them a fair amount of time to be able to get some other offers and some more activity. We knew that we were the first and only offer on the table. So we wanted to give them a little bit of time. Having been a seller recently, I wouldn't have sold it to the first offer that came in and the first showing before anybody had an opportunity to fall in love with the house and the location or anything else. So we gave them until midnight so that they could have some time to get some other offers.
Yeah, that's true. And then the other thing too is we knew at least on the first day they would use your offer to leverage against other offers. We knew that was coming up, but we didn't want to give them longer than that day for good reason. Because once that happens, then before you know it, you start getting more and more and more. And the offer goes higher and higher and higher. And we already knew that we had submitted your biggest and best offer. And that to me is important because it doesn't matter if it stays in the game for 3 or 4 or 5 days. The numbers aren't going to change. That offer is not going to change. That is your biggest and best offer. The other thing, too, for most sellers, and this is something for our listeners to pay attention to, your best offer is going to be usually within the first 3 offers. Anything after that is not going to really get any better. And every single listing, that's exactly what happens. Usually those first 2 to 3 offers are going to be your best offers. So if you have somebody that submits a deadline to you and they give you 24 hours, you need to seriously consider that offer because they're probably not going to get much better than that. So that's just one of those strategies that as a buyer's agent, I like to deploy. Not every time because sometimes sellers are adamant, and I've got one right now who's adamant about the deadline that she wants on her listing, and that's that. We're not going to go past that. We're not going to go before that. Unless somebody were to come in with an extremely high offer, she might entertain that one. But other than that, it's literally going to go until the deadline. So it just depends on the seller. The seller calls the shots. We give them all the information, and they do that. Now, when I'm representing a buyer, it's such a strong seller's market that as a buyer's agent, I want to try to give the buyer every opportunity to purchase the home. But at the same time, we also have to put pressure on the seller. So it's my opinion, and I think we still should have stuck to the guns on that offer deadline. I think had we, it wouldn't have drug out through the weekend. But then again, looking back, maybe we wouldn't have found the house that you eventually wound up with.
Right.
So there's always this, what if, what if, what if. We always play what if. I still like that strategy, but next time I think I would actually stick to that deadline.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, after we had put that offer deadline in, my fiance and I were actually heading up to Dallas for the weekend to go visit my sister. So we weren't going to be in town to look at any other properties. So we figured, no harm, no foul. How does it hurt leaving our offer in the game? So we decided to leave it. And actually we did end up raising the offer. We did raise that offer.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we really, really liked the house. We were kind of settling a little bit. We, had it in our head that we wanted a single story. This one was a 2-story, but it had the primary bedroom downstairs, which was important to us. So we were somewhat settling, but we loved the house, loved the location, where it was at in the neighborhood, right across the street from the pool. And I mean, so when we heard that there were some other offers that we were no longer the highest offer, we decided to come back in a little bit higher. And I think we raised our offer maybe another 2 or 3%, something like that, just to try to make it in contention with the other offers. And they ended up doing an offer deadline of Monday at 2 p.m. and they didn't actually make a decision until Tuesday. So it was Monday night when they let us know, okay, our offer was in the top 3. So we were still feeling pretty good about it. We were pretty confident that we had offered all the best terms. There was nothing that we could have done to make that offer stronger.
Other than give more money, which wasn't an option.
And it didn't make sense too, because I mean, we already knew that. Okay, we were pretty confident that our original offer was going to appraise, and then the further we went, it was like, okay, I knew I was going to pay a little bit more for a house than what it was probably worth. That's the whole purpose of the appraisal waiver, but when we raised that offer, something didn't feel right about it. So I'm glad that it worked out the way that it did and we didn't get it. But anyways, they had 2 other offers that were higher than ours. So we were told that we would have a decision by Monday night, and they didn't have a decision. They had us in the top 3, and I went to bed. Mind you, it's hard to sleep when you have offers out there. I mean, we didn't sleep good at all the entire weekend, but then especially Monday night when I was I went to bed thinking if we were the highest offer, why wouldn't they just accept it? I'm sitting there thinking, okay, you have top 3 offers. There's always 3 top offers. So why are you taking extra time to sit on these offers? And the only thing that I could think of was maybe there's some negotiating that needs to happen, and it was already late at night and she couldn't get a hold of the agents to finish the negotiation, or I don't know. I couldn't wrap my head around what was, the holdup, but I slept terribly. I think I went to sleep at like 2 or 3 in the morning. I was just up thinking, wheel turning, and then yeah, Monday morning or Tuesday morning, we're just sitting in the office, and my dad comes in. He said, "Well, you didn't get it." And I was like, "You got to be kidding me, right?" Like she made me feel like we were so high in contention from the beginning on Thursday when we submitted the offer. So it was a blow. It was definitely a.
Yeah, so from the real estate agent side of it, I'd got a bad feeling about this literally probably Sunday night because we submitted our offer on Thursday. So here it is Sunday, and we were hoping to get an answer back Thursday night. And of course, we get drugged through, and I had a couple of really good conversations with the listing agent. So I felt pretty confident about moving forward. Even though I didn't want to extend the deadline, after talking with her, we decided to go ahead and let it ride because, well, like Daniel said, he was leaving out of town anyway. So what was the harm? There was no harm, no foul. Let it ride. It's fine. We did adjust his offer a little bit to go a little bit higher, but we didn't want to go dramatically higher, wipe out his bank account. So that wasn't really a viable option. But then when we didn't get an answer Sunday night when I was told we would, and then they pushed it off till Monday, and then the agent calls me and tells me that this offer is one of the top three, and they had a total of 8 or 9 offers, I think, and she'd already notified the other agents they were no longer in contention. And then she asked me if there was something else that we could do to this offer. No, I asked her, what else could be done with this offer besides price to make this, to push it over the line? She did not answer me. So, and I didn't get another answer from her until probably Tuesday. She did tell me Monday evening. She texted me saying that she'll have an answer by noon because one of the sellers was traveling for work or something. So, the explanation she was giving me seemed to be legitimate. It didn't seem like we were being strung along or anything like that. She was very open and forthcoming about that. But at the same time, too, when you're working with the buyer who can't sleep, who's not, this is an emotional thing. Well, then Tuesday morning, probably around 10 o'clock, she sent me a text message saying we were no longer in contention, that they had decided to go with another offer. So I kind of felt that was the way this was going to turn out. So I came in here and I let Daniel know real quick. And then it was almost maybe an hour later when you had this other one. And mind you, his mom had gone with him to see. Actually, we all went out there on Sunday to take a second look at the house, see the neighborhood and all that kind of stuff. I know this neighborhood anyway, but his mom hadn't seen it. So she went out, took a look at it. Now she sees why he's zeroed in on this particular neighborhood and all of that. There's a really good strategy behind this, by the way. So anyway, after all of that, we came back, we regrouped, and now we're going after this other 2 homes. So we go out and we take a look at these other 2 homes, and the second one that we looked at turned out to be the home. And I could see it right away. And to me, emotions are very important, especially when it comes to the female. Yes, this is going to be a sexist statement, but it is what it is. I know my wife and how in tune she is with her intuition and her emotions and her sixth sense, if you will. She's very, very good about that. She walked into this house, and to see her look on her face, I'm telling you, if you guys didn't buy it, I think we were gonna. So, just seeing that alone, I knew that this was definitely the house. It was something about her demeanor and everything. Daniel's demeanor. He did a FaceTime call with Lily, and that was all it took right there. Well, then again, now I have to put my realtor hat on and not my dad hat and say, okay, now I'm going to have to try to work something out on this. So I reached out to the listing agent and had a really good conversation with her. And I just threw a number at her and said, if I submit an offer at this, what do you think? She said, if you submit me that offer, I'll get it signed today.
And literally, of course, I do all of our transaction coordinating. So I already knew that if we liked one of these houses, we needed to move quickly. And there was a strategy kind of came out of this to where, like, now I feel like this is actually a pretty smart way to try to find houses. But, they had a couple offers over the weekend that fell through, and it just happened that we were in the right place at the right time. So we went and took a look at the house, and yeah, I walked in, and the pictures kind of made it look weird. I feel like the pictures didn't do any justice to the actual house, and they were cell phone pictures. So, I'm looking at the pictures thinking that layout's kind of weird. I don't think that it's very functional. It was taken with like the fisheye kind of zoom lens. So I'm like, I can't really get a good feel for the shape of it, because I actually saw that house when it came on the market on Saturday.
Right.
But we already had our other offer in, so I was like, we're not even in town. We can't look at it. I just let it pass. Well, then when I was looking at the pictures again, I was like, nah, this is going to be worth taking a look at. And then after the conversation that you had with the agent, and she said, oh, you're going to love that house.
I mean, we had a really good conversation right from the beginning. And, this is all about when you're working with an agent, the agent really does need to ask the right questions of the other people that they're working with. And the reason being is if you don't ask the right questions, you're not going to get the right information. And sometimes you really do need that information. So in this particular instance, I learned that that house had already been, they had received a couple other offers before, and for some reason, neither of those offers panned out. So now it's back on the market again. So at that point, I had a pretty good idea about where it was, where those offers came in at, based on the market research and the market data, and some of the other phone calls that I had been making, which is yet another strategy that I use, is contacting other folks, other agents, and learning from them, agents who have houses under contract, and learning from them how much over listing price those contracts might be. Now, they're not going to tell me an exact number, but they're going to give me a ballpark, which really does help me work with other buyers and sellers to know more or less where the house should be valued at in today's market. So, with all of that said, I found a number, and apparently we hit that number on the head, because when I contacted her and mentioned this, she said, if you submit an offer to me with that price, then we'll probably have a deal. Now, with that said, that's when we decided to go and take a look at it.
Yeah. And just, to kind of add to that, I think it helped too that we knew exactly what we wanted. We knew we were in that neighborhood. So we had already done research on other properties in that neighborhood over the previous couple of weeks. So we had a very good idea of what that house could have sold for and should have sold for. And that definitely helped in our favor. But anyway, so we decided to go take a look at the house, and we pulled up to it. And first of all, this section of the neighborhood was so much better than the previous home that we were trying to get. And we kind of drove down the street. The street's real wide. Literally like things that I didn't realize we wanted. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Yeah, like I love this. The curb appeal of it, the style of the home. We walk in, and this thing was like. The pictures, I say they don't do it justice, because you could tell it was upgraded, but you couldn't tell the quality of the upgrades. And we start walking through the house, and upgraded vinyl plank, like brand new countertops throughout, freshly painted inside and out. And you could tell that they did quality work. They put new baseboards throughout the whole house. They did the work to make it look nice, clean, brand new, and it really truly showed like a brand new house. And we fell in love with it. I fell in love with it. My fiance, like my dad mentioned before, wasn't actually with us. She was at work, so I FaceTime called her and kind of walked through the house a little bit. And we decided to go ahead and get the offer written up. So I drove home and had my dad in the passenger seat writing up the offer, ready to go. I said we were kind of settling with that first house, right? It was 2-story. It didn't really check all the boxes. This other house was a single story. It was a little bit bigger. It had a lot more of the upgrades throughout. And I didn't feel like we were overpaying for this house, which is like shocking, right? Like in this market, I fully was expecting like, I'm going to feel like I'm overpaying for this house. And I didn't feel that way at all.
Yeah. And literally, we didn't have to put a deadline on it. We didn't have to anything. I think it was maybe 2 hours later, we got an executed contract. But here's the interesting little thing that happened in between. So we submitted an offer on that property, and the first one that we had been back and forth and drug out through the weekend, the agent calls me up and says, hey, is your son possibly still interested in this? We haven't inked a deal yet with either of the other two buyers. So at that point now, you now have a choice of two different houses.
She wanted to work with us because you made me look patient. Because I'll tell you, I was not being patient. I want the offer deadline. I want to know tonight. Every day I was asking him, so have you heard from the agent today? Have you heard from the agent today? And he's like, nope. And I'm not going to reach out to her. I'm not going to say anything because he who speaks first loses. So the fact that you were able to make us look so patient, right? Because had you reached out to the agent per my instruction when I asked you to, then she might have looked at us as like, I don't know that I want to work a transaction with these people. They're obviously impatient. Whereas you know, hey, coached me down like, all right, we're not going to make that phone call because there's no sense in it. You know, give it another day. She said we talked on Sunday. We'll wait till Sunday, and you know, we just stayed patient. And when those other two offers, you know, they decided they might entertain our offer because they knew that we would be easier to work with. And I think that literally 100% the opportunity of us having to or being able to pick from those two homes was simply because of that strategy.
So there's a strategy behind my negotiation tactics, and I think it works fairly effectively. I mean, it's done pretty well for our business, I'd say. Yeah. So my philosophy is, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. And I mean, that's the way I look at it. My strategy works. It's very effective. And as long as it remains that way, I'm not going to jack around with it. I'm not going to tinker with it. We're going to stick to it because it does work. Now, if something about it isn't working or it doesn't work, obviously, then we're going to have to make some adjustments. But I like the strategy, and I think it works quite well.
In this brief intermission, my dad just got a phone call from an agent for one of the listings that he has pending, right, or not pending. It is active, receiving offers right now, and the agent just called. Basically, hey, where are we at with this, right?
Literally, this is too funny because we're literally talking about this exact situation that Daniel found himself in. And here I am as the listing agent on another property, having just gone through this, literally just gone through this. And we're talking about patience. And I told the agent, I said, you know, it's funny you call right now. We're recording this right now. Yeah, so I don't like using other agents' names unless I'm given specific information to do so. And a lot of times these scenarios come up, and it's best not to use the agents' names. And I want to try to keep everything as professional as possible. So if other agents are involved in some of these deals and you want to give your input, please contact us. And if you don't mind being on the show, we'll be more than happy to have you as a guest. And we can talk about some various things. But again, I want to try to make sure that we don't breach any confidentiality agreements you may have with other clients and things like that. So typically, the stuff that we talk about, even though it's live and happening right now, this is my client, and he's willing to do this. But at the same time, I'm not going to throw the other agent's name out there without having specifically given their permission to do so. One of the strategies that I like to employ is, you know, this is such a strong seller's market that I have to do everything that I can to try to create the biggest buyer advantage that I possibly can, considering how strong of a seller's market this is. So the only thing that I can do in that regard is literally to create the relationship, if you will, with the other agent that shows that the buyer on this side of it is, number one, patient, but determined. And I think the patience and the determination shine through when you wait that long of a period of time. And then when they reach back out to us after these other two deals have not gone through, that shows that there's been some sort of connection made there that I think I could have used to your advantage at some point as the buyer. Now, would I have had to do that? Likely no, but what it does show too, I think, is it allows the other side to know that they're working with a true professional, which I cannot tell you how important that is in today's market.
Yeah, seriously. So something else I kind of want to touch on is I mentioned earlier that we kind of found inadvertently a new strategy for finding homes in this whole situation, and it's searching for what didn't sell over the weekend. And I think that in and of itself, I mean, it creates its own advantages because, one, typically, I mean, if it's been sitting over the weekend, you already know it's priced a little bit too high for the condition, or something isn't right if it's still sitting on the market after the weekend. But then also being able to, you know, to your point, if you can connect with the agent and get them to give you somewhat of an idea of, okay, if you had a few offers, like the the situation that we had. I mean, she was pretty open. All right, well, we had an offer in hand from an investor who had put in offers on a bunch of other properties, which we never advise. We were patient in that every weekend we chose one house, and we put one offer in on one house each weekend until we got a house. But this investor had put in offers on a bunch of different homes, and she, I don't know, but they basically had gotten another contract accepted, rescinded their offer on this property, and then
They went to a second offer.
they went to a second offer. Well, that offer had found another house. They actually put in another offer on another home and got it. So they went from 2 offers to no offers, and the weekend was over, and people aren't looking at houses so much during the week. So that's where we kind of slipped in. Tuesday morning we were like, all right, well, let's move fast. Let's get this thing going. And lo and behold, here we are. We got an awesome house at an awesome price, and I couldn't be happier. But I'm definitely going to be using that strategy for my buyers now. Just because, especially the ones that are
Really frustrated
with the market and frustrated with the multiple offer situations, and especially when you're coming in so aggressively and then you're still getting beat out. I mean, it can get exhausting. So
Yeah. And the other thing too, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but this has been my observation, is that it's extremely stressful for the buyers. So it's also stressful for us as the agents. So I know you and Liliana didn't get a whole lot of sleep every time we submitted an offer. And that's just the nature of the beast, because you're excited, you just get excited with it. Well, I mean, over the years, I've lost track of how many homes I've sold, and I still get a little bit of jitters. I don't sleep quite as well the night after I've submitted an offer, or the night that I submitted an offer. I just don't. If it drags on for a few days, it's usually not a problem, but it's still, because I'm working for my buyers, I too have sleepless nights.
yeah,
There's been many times I get up 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Okay, let's go back to work, and I'll run into the office and I'll start knocking things out that I can get done. But at the same time, I mean, I'm not sleeping,
yeah,
so I might as well do work.
yeah.
Yeah, it affects everybody.
Yeah, definitely.
So now we get into we did the inspection, so we get under contract. I mean, very, very quickly.
Yeah, very quickly.
And so that we get the earnest money delivered and all of that stuff, and we have the inspection. How did you feel about the inspection?
Well, I mean, pleased. Really, I mean, it confirmed what I thought, that they did a really good job on this renovation. So, I mean, you could tell the craftsmanship of the work was phenomenal. The agent at this point, after we got under contract, gave up a little bit more information as far as, how much they had budgeted for the renovation, some of the issues that they ran into during the renovation and how they remedied those issues. So, it confirmed that, we knew there was going to be some things, as there are with all homes. So
And this is an older home too, so
Yeah.
we know you buy an older home, there's going to be problems. But
Right.
It's still standing.
yeah, still standing. There were no foundation issues. You could tell that whoever lived in the home, and I know it was renter occupied for 10 years, but the owner of the home took care of that home, and you can tell. It really shows. So, I mean, yeah, we were really, really happy with the way the inspection came out. And we, that's the other thing too that I want to kind of talk about, is that in this market, even though it's competitive, sellers are still being very accommodating to repair amendment requests and things of that nature. Because we requested 3 repairs, and no questions asked, they agreed to take care of those repairs for us. So
Yeah, and I am seeing that too. So a lot of folks seem to think that if the buyer is overpaying for the house and they go to push for repairs, that the seller doesn't have to do the repairs. Well, in one regard, they're kind of right. The seller doesn't have to do a daggone thing if they don't want to. They've agreed to sell the house, but that's it. They're not agreeing necessarily to do everything else, right? Not true. So most sellers, even though they're getting extreme top dollar for their homes, they still want to make sure, at least most of them, in my experience, want to make sure that the buyer is receiving a good quality home. So my strategy on that is I approach the other agent with what after a conversation with the buyer, or what we deem to be the most important repairs. We're not asking for a bunch of little small, minuscule stuff. The repair stuff that we ask for is typically the things that are, in my opinion, major or health and safety related. Major meaning a high cost item such as a roof or a foundation, maybe a water heater, or electrical. Electrical is always could be an issue depending on what it is, because electrical could cause a fire. So, but it depends on what it is. So, I mean, if it's a code thing, it depends. But I mean, if there's something that really jumps up at us, we are going to ask for those repairs. And so far, I haven't had a seller come back and say, we're not doing any repairs. I mean, we've always been able to negotiate something out. So, yeah, I mean, I think that is very similar to what it was before this market got so crazy with the prices. But the sellers are still sellers. They're still people. They still want to sell a good quality home.
Yeah, and once you get under contract, the process is the same. The trouble is getting under contract.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That is very true. So now, Daniel, we've gotten through a lot of that stage. Are you and Liliana sleeping any better?
You would think, but no, it went from nervousness to excitement. Now, literally, I think it's kind of wearing off a little bit now. We're starting to get more into like the planning mode. Okay, what are we going to do once we get moved in? What are the things that we need to still get, appliances and all that type of stuff? So I think that's kind of taking a little bit of the attention away from just like the, woo, we're moving in.
So once you got all that done and you get past that, as far as your lender is concerned, what happened on that side, or what's happening on that side? Where are you at in that process?
So the biggest thing with the lender is going to ask you for a ton of documentation. Get them the documentation as quickly as you can. So, the night that we got under contract, we already had a list from the lender of some of the pending documents that we had to get sent over to her. So I sent all that stuff that night. And then, the next 2 days, I got a couple of emails that said, okay, we're missing this. We need this to support that. And, a couple other things. So we got all that stuff sent in on, let's see, today's Sunday. We're recording this on Sunday, by the way. I think it was on Thursday that the loan was sent to processing. And then by Friday, they already had the loan in underwriting. So we have a 14-day financing period for this home. So I think we still got another, 9 days or so left in that. But it's looking like, everything's moving right along. We got the survey ordered. The appraisal's been ordered. So, I mean, everything is moving along very smoothly right now.
All right. Very good. So I'm assuming then you guys are pretty happy with what's going on and ready to get it done.
Yeah. And I mean, it's great. It's we work with these lenders and, our inspectors and all these other people in transactions all the time, but it's kind of cool to see them from the client side, how diligently they are about getting these processes done, because we're involved, but with the lender, most lenders are only going to give the agent so much information. So as far as the documentation and the things that the lender is actually doing with the client, we don't really know everything that is being done between those parties unless the client tells us, because the lender can't.
Yeah.
So, it's really cool to kind of see how much work they're doing and how quickly they are, getting this stuff done. And it definitely helps when, we're working with our clients. Hey, these are the people to work with. I use them personally. They take really good care of us. They know what they're doing. We've got everything very streamlined. So, couldn't ask for a better team.
Which is a great segue into one of my favorite things: referrals, 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 referrals. So when I mentioned that, I'm telling you, when we go through this kind of a process and we refer these people, it's for a good reason. We've been there, we've done that as buyers, as sellers, as professionals in this industry. So when we refer somebody to you, we put our name on it. We're putting our reputation on it. And again, quoting Brian Buffini, that's where we're at on that.
Yep.
I believe in that. That's it. I mean, I believe in that. So the referral is a very big thing.
It is, yeah. Well, I mean, do we have anything else that we want to touch on as far as this transaction? Anything that we can bring a little bit more value to our listeners on today's topic?
Aside from just being patient, patience. Patience is a virtue. Stay true to who you are and fight. Continue to fight to get what you really want. It'll happen. It
will. Yeah, you just have to be patient and everything will fall into place. So, yeah, couldn't be more excited.
So before we sign off today, I just want to make sure everybody realizes and knows referrals. We're all about referrals. So if you need something from somebody, please let us know. We'll be happy to find that professional for you. If you know somebody who's looking to buy or sell real estate or has any kind of questions about real estate, by all means, reach out to us, whether it's here in the state of Texas, Central Texas in particular, or anywhere in the United States. Please reach out to us. We will find a professional for you. I promise.
Absolutely. And don't just refer them to us, refer them to our podcast. Make sure that you guys hit that like and subscribe and leave your reviews. That always helps us out. Again, we want to help out as many people as we possibly can. Yeah, see us on YouTube, on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, all the places where you can find podcasts. We are there. And let us know what you guys want to hear about next. We'd love to hear from you guys, and we love spending time with you guys. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you all on next week's episode. Take care.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Chappell Real Estate Show. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend and leave us a review. Find us on social media at Chappell Realty Group and online at chappellrealtygroup.com. Until next time.